Welcome to the Revival Method podcast, where we teach you actionable steps that you can take to start moving, thinking, and feeling better. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Revival Method podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brandon Parker, and today's episode has not even been remotely planned. I felt impelled to jump on here, turn on the camera, talk into the mic, and unpack this myth that I've been trying to dispel in private for a very long time. Somebody would ask me this question. I would educate them on the current evidence and what is actually going on. But I feel like it's time to create an online resource or a platform for people to reference in a much larger scale. The reason why I've been doing it in private is because the myth is perpetuated by my own profession. And I just didn't feel like having conflict with my peers because it's just not worth my time, whereas I can spend that time helping all of you, right? But let's unpack this together. I'll give you what my perspective is, what the evidence is currently showing, so you can actually feel empowered and no longer feel overwhelmed, okay? So the question that I get, and it comes in a bunch of different forms. It's, hey doc, my feet are out of alignment, or my lower back is rotated, or my back disc or my bones keep popping out of place. What can I do to make sure that I align my spine and hold it, right? And I feel like there's we have to unpack this and use specific language, because if we don't do that, we're going to be setting up ourselves for failure and unnecessary fear. Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit. Let's kind of talk about these myths and why they came about in the first place. Going through school, we've learned all the methods to why we do certain things in the world of chiropractic. We are taught to find discrepancies in symmetry. We are taught to look for things that aren't textbook and try to correct them through our methods of either manual therapy, chiropractic adjustment, and exercise. But I'm here to tell you that a lot of the things that people might be blaming your pain on isn't perpetuating your pain or creating your pain. Pain is unbelievably complex. It can be influenced by the way you feel about your injury, your socioeconomic status, your stress, your sleep, your nutrition. There's a massive web of things that could be contributing to your pain. So for a doctor to say that you're in pain because a bone is out of alignment, or perhaps your hip flexors are unbelievably tight and we have to do XYZ to fix that, it's a little bit reductionist. And even if the chiropractor is coming from a genuine place, because this is what we were taught, it might be setting people up for fear, and fear can create pain, right? So let's kind of unpack this. So, okay, number one, hey, my spine is rotated one way and that's creating pain. Okay. All right. So if we were to correct this rotation through a gentle adjustment, you'll feel better, right? Okay. Well, if a gentle pressure into rotating your spine the opposite way of where it's quote unquote rotated, it would be safe to assume if you did any type of contact sports, any type of activity that requires you to bend and twist, that it would easily pop back out of place, right? Because the chiropractic adjustment by no means should be an aggressive maneuver. So that's why I have this large issue. Not only is it, the evidence shows that that's not a true narrative, but even if we're simplifying this narrative for people to understand, it's actually making people feel like they're unbelievably fragile. If Dr. Parker can facilitate a nice gentle adjustment to make my lower back feel better, it probably would make sense that if I went to bend and twist and pick up a plant, that I throw my back out at a place just as easy. That's why I don't like this narrative. Plus, if we look at it from a more realistic perspective, think of football. That's a collision sport. If it was so easy to pop bones in and out of place and rotate them a certain way, we would see a lot of death on the field. Let's be honest, right? And it's just simply not that true. Okay. Well, it's not true at all. We are very strong and robust human beings and organisms that adapt to the stresses that we place on ourselves. So we need to give ourselves credit. In fact, let's also take another realistic perspective here. You have Usain Bolt, who has pretty substantial and developed scoliosis, and he's the fastest man in the world. This quote unquote textbook deformity that should make him be in a whole world of pain, he's actually the fastest man in the world. He's probably healthier than 99.9% of the people on this planet. So to be pushing these narratives that we need to be symmetrical, we need to make sure that we're always in alignment, it's just going to create a sense of hypervigilance and a fear to live the life that you want to live. So that's the first thing that I wanted to address. The other thing that I wanted to address is, what is the adjustment doing? Are we pushing bones into place? No, because if bones were coming in and out of place that easy, that would be an issue. Are we changing the structural alignment of our bones? No. Half the time when somebody says that we are out of alignment, they're judging that off of feeling the bony part of your spine, which we know by the evidence, they're not symmetrical at all. They point in different directions to begin with. So how are we judging that at all? Then we look at our feet discrepancy. Are your feet even? Well, there's a large portion of people that just naturally have one leg longer than the other. If we're trying to correct this discrepancy over and over and over, you're going to fail because your body isn't developed that way. So all this to say, like, I don't want to just to dispel all this and just not give you a solution. The reason why I do adjust some of my patients, because I've seen it help a lot of people temporarily give pain reduction and temporarily get an increase of range of motion. But I've also seen people not really get a large benefit from it at all. It depends on the person. But I've seen time and time again, research backs this as well, that we should be spending our time teaching people how to strengthen and restore their body through ranges of motion that they can handle and challenges or stresses that they can handle, so they're less likely to be injured in the future. So if you have a lower back pain that you once thought was because of a rotation issue, what we need to be working on is, what are the activities that you're trying to do? Where are you finding the biggest issue with it? How can we make that issue into a repetitive motion, that like an exercise that you can currently handle in a bite-sized piece? Over time, you get stronger. We make that motion a little bit more intense, and then you're back to doing the things that you would love to do, and you're no longer quote unquote throwing your back out. Okay, so I guess I just wanted to hop on here and tell you that, like, hey, you're not fragile. Your bones aren't flying out out of place. Your lower spine isn't stuck in a rotated pattern. Your hips aren't rotated in a weird way. Your feet, even if they are having a discrepancy, it's not a large issue because there's so many people with this discrepancy with no pain at all. And remember, your body's unbelievably strong. The chances of you having a rotator cuff issue, like a tear, a disc bulge, or I think it was like pretty substantial osteoarthritis, is like 1 in 3 out of asymptomatic people are not feeling pain. You got to understand that there's so much more to this pain equation, and you're super strong. And we should be focusing on strategies that empower you, not leave you fearful, and have you coming back to a practitioner to fix something that hasn't been substantiated. Once again, I hope this helps a lot. I hope that I didn't just rant my little heart out. Yeah. All right. Peace.